That's right, folks. That's music that organ announces my arrival. That's your man, the Dolphins A.D. Moore, high top of the NRG Stadium. As today, the Houston Texans took down the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 26-15. And it probably should have been a bigger margin than that because the Texans dominated the from a time of possession and everything. But you know what? The bottom line, at the end of the day, Texas still come out ahead, particularly after having a short week against the for after facing the Seattle Seahawks last Monday night on Monday Night Football, which was really a lot of folks were disappointed with their play and everything. But the Texans today come back, and you really this is a critical time of their season. I know every game is important, but as far as I was concerned, I said this last week that these four games will determine the Texans season. And they started off on the right foot, took care of the San Francisco 49ers today. And and be quite candid, and really they contain Christian McCaffrey today, the man that really constitutes about 40% of the San Francisco 49ers offense. But before, and I got a deal here, got my man here who he had been back, but let me get ready to bring him into the scene here. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, should be offline. But, yeah, Elwin, let me see. Let me get this. Let me grab this one real quick. Yeah, got it. Elwin trying to bring you up. I know because right now I got here's my man Elwin Henderson, and as soon as I can figure out how to get him on the screen here, figure out what has happened, but he should be here. Elvin, go ahead. Hey, Elvin, go ahead and start talking, and I'll figure out how to get you back up here on. Your
Okay,
your
no
quick comments
problem,
on your
AD.
quick
I'll tell you
yeah your
what, I was very pleasantly surprised today. I felt like the Texans could play complementary football in all three phases. And, a lot of my friends, when I told them I was coming down for today's game, were telling me, man, you're crazy for going down there. Houston's doing terrible this year. And I said, yeah, I'm hoping I'll see a good game, but I'll be very honest. I didn't expect to see the Houston Texans play the way they did today. I was pleasantly surprised, and honestly, it reminded me of what I saw last year when things were clicking really, really well. This looked like the Houston Texans from last year when they were, in sync and everything was rolling. Now, the big question will be what will happen next Sunday? As we know, this
Elvin, you froze up a little bit. I probably think you hit a bad spot. This is we're back to our normal Elwin on the road. He's heading back to Gilmer. I think Elwin, I tell you what, why don't you check out and try to come back in? Because right now you just frozen. And what I'll do, I'll come, yeah, come back, let him come back in. Let me go back up here and get when you get back on, we'll let you come back in and get back to the situation. Uh, that was sort of like our segment last year, Elwin on the road. Because okay, hold on real quick. Let me see. Yeah, let me pop you back in here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, man. All right, and then just go ahead and reiterate your point again, because I know before you get too far that just go ahead and I'm gonna let you then cut you loose, man. But let you get your points across.
okay. Well, what I was saying was, I was very pleasantly surprised by what I saw the Texans put on the field today. Complimentary football, I felt like from start to finish. Now, was it perfect? No. Three field goals out of four trips to the red zone to begin with. If San Francisco had been able to execute their offense the way they had been executing this season, that would have been sort of Damocles for the Texans. But fortunately, Houston was able to keep McCaffrey in check. They were able to keep Kittle in check, except for that one touchdown pass. And because they played complementary football, those 3 field goals in the first 4 trips to the red zone with one touchdown didn't prevent them from getting the win. I really thought what we saw today was the Houston Texans team that we saw when they were in sync last season. Now, the big thing to me is, can they extend it again next week in game 2 of the 3 game home series when the Denver Broncos come to town? That is going to be huge. When we came on the air, the Cowboys were down 30-17 to the Broncos without some of the star Broncos players. And so the big thing is, can Houston do it again next week? I think if they can do it again next week and get back to 500 and sit at 4-4, they've got this team put back into position where they can make a run down the stretch. But if they come in next Sunday and let the Broncos do what the Seattle Seahawks did to them last Monday night, then they're going to be sitting there at 3-5, and everybody's going to start questioning again: are they going to be able to put it together and make the playoffs? So, you know, we always use that term, a must-win game, and I know we're not even halfway through the season yet, but I think just like today was, next Sunday is a must-win game for the Houston Texans.
Oh, I concur. I think, and I'll reiterate the point I made last, Monday night, Thursday morning. By the time we came on and did the recap, because I know everybody was asleep, and I stated that this 4 game stretch coming in with this, particularly with these three home games coming up, 49ers. Now I have, they're taking care of them. The Broncos coming in, Jacksonville Jaguar, and then they go back to Tennessee. Those
Yep.
4 games, I think, going to be determined. And be quite candid with you, I think they got to win all 4 of them to really to really, if they wanted to cement themselves and put themselves in a playoff position. I think they're going to win all 4 games. There's no one game. One game only gets you 1 game. So now this game is out the way. They'll watch the film tomorrow, and then they'll do their critique. I know, and I got D'Amico Ryans coming on because that every game presents its own critiques in its own way, and they got some things to clean up. But I think the offensive line performance tonight compared to Monday was like quantum leaps. It was like night and day. It was a solar eclipse to a sunburst eclipse that from what happened Monday night because they just couldn't get it. They couldn't get. They were out of sync. They couldn't get anything going. The play, I was disappointed with the play calling and all the other stuff that happened Monday night. Tonight, I like what the Texans done, and I think what they did, particularly throwing the ball on first down.
Yep.
That was that was a unique surprise, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised that the Iowa State Cyclone wide receiver trio showed up big today. And
Yep.
of course, our colleague Kim Davis, conversation that we had earlier. I was sitting there saying, I think we ought to get at least part of Kaylee's contract because and particularly Jaden, Higgins. I mean, and Noel, Jaden Noel, because I thought he was going to be to me, I thought will be the key to the whole game, particularly on the receiving end. But I thought all of the Iowa State receivers should stood up. In fact, CJ went to 9 different receivers today. Nine different receivers was on the
Yep.
receiving end of CJ Stroud's passes today. So to me, that was a big plus. And the fact that he spreaded the ball around, and really, you just couldn't hone in on no one particular player. And I thought this boded well for the Texans, particularly coming in, now with the 49ers out of the way, with the Denver Broncos on, next up. I think the Texans gonna give whoever team's coming in with what, particularly when they watch the tapes from this game, you gonna have to, somebody they're gonna have to pick their poison. Now, I think and I'm not sure if Nico Collins will be back next week, but I feel I'm much more comfortable with this cadre and what from a receiving standpoint, what the Texans put on display today, because they were not going to be handicapped today. And like I say, Knowles and Higgins, I think, stood up. Xavier Hutchinson, I think, is finally. I think his confidence level has to be going out, blowing out the top of NRG now, because now he's been around a while, and now he's sort of being able to fall in there, because with Collins out, Christian Kirk really has not worked themselves into a complete rotation with the rest of the guys. So here's an opportunity for other guys to show up, and they have showed up. They showed up in a big way today, and so I tip my hat to that receiving core today, all of them, for all 9 guys that stood in there and caught passes from CJ Stroud today. I think that you got to tip your hats to them today. But
Yeah,
hey, I know you got you going down the road there. You got your DPS glasses on going down the road there. Final points from you, and then I'll get back to the rest of the show. I got some comments with EJ Speed, and also from Coach D'Amico Ryan's talking about the part. But your final points from you, and as to what you anticipate next week against the Broncos.
well, first off, another thing I do want to say is congrats and hats off to the offensive line today. CJ Stroud did not get sacked a single time today. Yeah, he got run out of the pocket a few times, but he did not get sacked. And I was beginning to wonder if this offensive line could play, in front of him and do the job at all this season with the struggles they've had the better part of the year. So I was glad to see them come around and do that. Now, that having been said, there's no doubt in my mind this Denver Broncos defense, listening to the Cowboys game driving down the highway before we came on, I think they're going to be a whole lot tougher than the 49ers defense was. It's going to be a whole lot tougher to sustain drives against them. And quite honestly, not to take anything away from Mac Jones, he did a good job today. But Bo Nix is a whole lot better quarterback coming into NRG Stadium next Sunday than Mac Jones was coming in today. So the bottom line, for my final thoughts, the Texans have got to build off what they did today: kicking game, offense, defense, and move it up another level, increase it another notch, or as Emperor would say about food, kick it up a notch next week in order to have a chance to beat Denver. Can they do it? Yes, I believe they can, but I think they've got to be about 20% better than they were today in order to be able to do that.
I concur. Tell you what, buddy. Hey, man, it was good seeing you today. Hey, good
You too.
having you in town. Hey, man, we'll be talking. We'll be in touch. So, hey, be careful going down the road heading back to Gilmore, okay?
Will do, buddy. Have a good week.
All right. Hey, you too now. Take care of yourself.
I'll do it. Thanks for having me.
All right, now. Take care. All right, folks. And again, that's Elwin Henderson of the Gilmore Mirror. He's been covering pro football for a long time. And so, he's been covering pro football for a long time, and been a Dallas Cowboy for the beat writer for a long time. Has covered the Texans for a long time, so it was good to get him in here and get his comments. As I get ready to go, I want to bring in Coach D'Amico Ryan's some comments he had about about team play today. And like I say, no team was perfect today, but I honestly think that, and this was, let me see, bring him. Well, yeah, here we go. Coach Ryan's in comments today.
Coach, you talk about each week. You talk about trying to play clean football. I mean, obviously, you had 8 penalties today, but these penalties seem to be so dispersed, and with your time of dominance on the offensive side of the line of scrimmage, it seemed like it really didn't have any havoc in which I was consistently wanted to get done today.
For sure, with the penalties, we had a couple holding calls that we have to clean up. O-line did a good job, but we got to clean up some of the holding penalties that's kind of knocking us back. But I think in the beginning of the year, we allowed those penalties to kind of stall us out on the drive. Right now, nobody panicked. Everybody just continued to press forward, knowing we can overcome any situation. So no one got in a bad mood about a penalty. Let's just keep playing forward. Penalties will happen. We want to clean them up, of course, playing with great technique. We can do a much better job, of course. Defensively, we had an offsides penalty that we cannot have on third down that allowed them to go down and drive. That's the one right there that's truly controllable that we cannot have.
Coach, you talk about each week you talk about trying to play clean football. I mean, obviously you had 8 penalties today, but
Yeah, that was just that was about to hit the loop, but I wanted to get back. Like I said, no, Texans weren't perfect today, and I want to reiterate a point that Elvin said. Texans was down in red zone, and no, thank heavens for Kaimi Fairbairn. But there's a team like the 49ers that can score and has the ability to score, particularly with a Christian McCaffrey who accounted for 40% of their offense going into the day's event. That's running, and that's between running the ball, pass catch, you name it. He is sort of the catalyst on that team as far as, and so goes the 49ers, so goes Christian McCaffrey, and vice versa. But today the Texans played special attention, and and I would like, and I'm gonna bring EJ Speed. I got some quick comments about EJ Speed and because I'm pretty sure that Christian McCaffrey was a marked man all this past week, because it was evident today in the contest. If anybody was going to if the Houston Texans were going to lose other than beating themselves, the 49ers it was not going to be Christian McCaffrey. Kittle, I'd say he scored a touchdown today on a nice seam route. But for the most part, the Texans made sure that Christian McCaffrey was not going to they were not going to lose at the hands of Christian McCaffrey today. And they made sure that they locked him down without any, no ifs, ands, or buts. In fact, before we go any further, let me just go ahead and bring EJ Speed in and let comments that I had with him after the game today.
Speed, talk about, and let's continue on with McCaffrey. Is a situation because he can break you down if you overplay him? Was it just a situation of slow playing him, letting him make his cut, and then you attack him once he makes that plant?
Yeah, it was a combination of everything. Just keeping your eyes on him, staying locked in, just knowing that's the guy that they want to target, and just trying your best to take that away. And usually when you try your best with great technique, you put in a position to make the play, and you just make the play and get it done.
Speed, talk about, and let's continue on with McCaffrey.
After going back and listening to EJ and his comments, I'm sort of laughing because I hear this. This is almost like a broken record coming from Coach Nico Collins talking about playing with great technique and everything. And after listening to it, I have to sort of laugh. I'm going like, okay, he's mimicking this coach, but these guys learn. They'll give you the sound bite, but it's interesting how all of a sudden I'm going like, okay, closing my eyes. Wait a minute, EJ, I'm talking to you, but playing with great technique, and that's really because bad technique will get you beat. And will get you beat in a hurry in this league. In fact, bad technique will not only get you beat, it will get your rear end put on the bench. It would also get you put to the practice squad. It would also get you put out of the league. It would get you cut, particularly if you can't do a better job of just showing up, cleaning up your techniques and playing proper technique. Because let's face it, folks, all these guys are super and unique in their own way. And so playing with poor improper technique, that's, like I say, that's the difference between a good player, a bad player, a good player, a great player, and a guy who is a pro at his position. Because you're not going to just bully boy everybody. These are all grown men out here. They might what they might have gotten away with in college, you're not going to get away with it in the NFL, because everybody's out here grown men in their own right, grown unique individuals in their own right. So to hear him now, that's why I sort of laugh at the situation when EJ is talking about playing with great technique, because D'Amico Ryans last week in Seattle was talking about some bad techniques have cost them, And so if you play with the right techniques, he felt like that he's got the ball club that's in good enough shape to win and will win. And like I say, what looking forward, what do the Houston Texans have to do coming in against the Denver Broncos? Let me just state this right now. I know a lot of people are high on the Denver Broncos. I have not watched them a complete game yet, but from what I've seen of the Denver Broncos, the Texans can beat them. They can, but you cannot go in making a ton of mistakes. The Denver Broncos will, you if you go in there making a ton of mistakes, they will exploit you, and then they got the right people in the right place but so that means they're going to play as clean of a ball game as possible. Uh, some offside penalties, particularly what Coach Ryan's talked about today, are offside that negated a sack today because you're lining up in the neutral zone. So I think that, again, I'm going back and laughing at my own self and laughing at EJ talking about playing with proper technique. This team's not only are they going to have to be aggressive and being able to, going up against the Denver Broncos, but they're going to have to be also be able to have eye discipline. I think from what I've seen with the Denver Broncos, they're going to have a lot of eye discipline and not be wandering, letting their eyes wander, but play the keys, doing what they have to do. And also, I think what needs to get done, and I think is essential, and it is without a doubt they're going to have to be emphatic about. They are going to have to, when they get to the red zone, those field goals going to have to be touchdowns because as going into the half, I think the Texans left 8 points on the table. Field goals are nice. Kymie Fairburn is good, and he's good and consistent. But I'd rather him to be lining up kicking PATs as opposed to kicking field goals. They all add up. They won today. But for a team like the Broncos, where everybody is high on, I think you're going to have to be able to come in there today, next Sunday, and they're going to have to convert those field goals are going to have to be touchdowns. The defense is going to have to be very keen and on point and on focus, and they're going to have to pay attention to their keys. So, as the sun sets and after we have experienced yesterday's with both torrential rains coming in early Saturday morning, then last night with the thunder and lightning, the day turned out to be a beautiful day. And not only just because the Texans won, because it looks good for me sitting up here and looking across the stadium with the sunshine shining in through the glass windows. From the east, Sean on the east side, from the west, Sean on to the east side of the stadium. So it gives a unique experience to sit up here and watch this, watch how the silhouette of the sun paints the stadium and an empty stadium. But be that as it may, Texans fans, be happy. Your team has sort of bounced back. Next week, I think, is another deciding factor, a game that I think is essential if they want to get back into the playoff picture and establish themselves as a team to be reckoned with. They're going to have to come in with that same emphasis, that same discipline, coming in with the same techniques, if not greater techniques, because the Denver Broncos are going to present them with a different challenge. They got with Bo Nix and the rest of that offense that the Denver Broncos can usher in. They are going to have to be very emphatic and specific about how, particularly from a defensive standpoint, how they're going to affect and how they're going to disrupt Bo Nix. On the other hand, CJ Stroud and the offensive line, they're going to have to continue the play from that they had today with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, understand one thing. The Denver Broncos are not at the point of having as many injuries as the San Francisco 49ers had today coming in. I admit up front, there was no Fred Warner today that patrolled at the back that the all-world linebacker. Yes, he wasn't there. They had other issues. But the bottom line was it still was the San Francisco 49ers that had to line up today. And the Texans took care of their business. And the same thing is going to have to come in effect and in vogue next Sunday when the Broncos come down to sea level from Mile High and see if they can come in here and they're going to try to disrupt the Texans venue. So if the Texans can protect home court and knock out the Denver Broncos, as Elvin Henderson stated, it puts them back to 500, and then puts them sets them in a good position to continue to try to just right the ship and just put themselves back in position as a team to be a contender that you're going to have to contend with. So as I get ready to shut it down, again, I want to thank you, those of you who had sent comments in, those had watched, appreciate it. If you have not subscribed to the Max Korner YouTube channel, please do so. If you have not subscribed to the Houston Roundball Review channel, please do so. We want each and every one, and just subscribe to all the shows, folks. And continue. Don't forget also for reminding you can follow me on X, Twitter, AdMax _AD _ more 64. Also, IG and Threads at the AdMax Korner. You can follow me there, and then that rolls over to my own personal Facebook page. So, without further ado, as I get ready, as the sun slowly settles in the west, and the silhouette just paints the upper deck seats of NRG Stadium, I'm about ready to sign off. Again, your Houston Texans today with a very dominant performance from a time of possession, a dominant performance in the fact that CJ Stroud covered 9 different had passes that were received by 9 different receivers today. And also the Texans were able to get a ground game today that they got over 100 yards rushing today. So, that bodes well for them coming up, having to deal with the Denver Broncos coming in next week. So as we get ready to go, we're ready to bid you all a good night, a goodbye. Ciao, folks. This is your man, Adolphus A.D. Moore, signing off from atop of NRG Stadium as, again, the Houston Texans knocked down the San Francisco 49ers 26-15. Next Sunday, the Denver Broncos are coming into town. Bo Nix and that crew is coming in. Can the Texans knock them off, and can the Texans bring it home? We'll see. But be prepared to come in. I'll be here this time next Sunday to we'll talk about this next week. So, folks, take care. Have a good week, and be kind to someone. I'll be talking to you next week, folks.